Shalom Aleichem, my name is Joey and you've reached the Yoke of Messiah YouTube channel. Today's topic is about Hebrew Israelites. A month or so ago there was a news article where Hebrew Israelites were mentioned. From listening to a couple of the TV reports, it appears that while I may be familiar with this movement, many in the public eye were just hearing about this group for the first time. So I figured I'd speak to my experience with Hebrew Israelites. A few years back, we had a few families leave our local synagogue and join Hebrew Israelite synagogues. And while these folks were missed inside our community, some of these families would return for special events or high holy days from time to time. Over the course of time, these families stopped coming around altogether and closed themselves off from contact with myself and others at our local synagogue, people that they had previously been friends with in our community. But it wasn't a big deal ultimately. People come and go in life, and there were no hard feelings on our part, so nothing more came of it. Then, a couple of years later, I had mutual friends come and ask me if I'd read about or heard about some of the things that these folks who had left us were saying online and social media that seemed pretty racially inflammatory. So I looked into it, and this is how I discovered Hebrew Israelite theology. Now, I certainly don't mean to paint all Hebrew Israelites with the same brush and generalize and say that they all hate white people or what have you. As within any movement, individual attitudes and points of view can vary amongst its adherents. I know this for a fact because one of the folks who left our synagogue to join Hebrew Israelites came back to me a couple of years later, and while our beliefs may have become divergent in some ways, there was still familial love to be had between us. Ultimately, I've heard a lot of harsh talk from both sides, inside and outside of the Hebrew Israelites camp of theology, and I find myself somewhere in the middle. So in the interest of being a peacemaker and a bridge builder, I'd like to see if I can extend an olive branch and bring a different perspective. As I understand it, Hebrew Israelite theology believes that the first people, all the way up through the patriarchs, and pretty much everybody in the scriptures, both in the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah, or New Testament, are black. Firstly, Adam and Eve, and everyone up through the patriarchs, were likely dark-skinned as human beings can get, so I totally agree with their idea here. As evidenced by the idea that Eve is called the mother of all living, and she was made from Adam, and Adam is made from the dust of the earth. Now, we know that the region the Bible describes as being Eden is where the four great rivers meet, and it's what we call the Fertile Crescent. The Fertile Crescent is full of a soil called loam soil, L-O-A-M, which is made up of sand, silt, and clay, and is very, very dark. Per Wikipedia, there are 3 layers of subsurface loam. The surface layer is dark, fine, sandy loam. The subsurface layer is a pale, brown, fine, sandy loam. The subsoil beneath that is red clay loam, and then sandy loam soil. This certainly sounds like most of the shades of people that we find on earth today. And 2, as further evidence for the patriarchs being dark-skinned, in the ancient world, babies were typically named after observing them for an entire week and witnessing their outstanding traits. Of all the people born during the time of the patriarchs, one of them was named for what appears to be his most outstanding trait, his coloring. Laban, or in English, Laban, which means in Hebrew, white. Colloquially speaking, why would you name a baby white if that wasn't his most outstanding trait, when everyone else would be of dark skin? My assumption is that Laban lacked the usual pigmentation. So these are some of the strongest evidences I've seen for the coloring of the first people being very dark. Now to a point I've heard a lot of people talk about, and that is Hebrew Israelites calling white people, on the whole, Esau or Edom, and that all white people are lost forever and cursed in some fashion. Now, giving Hebrew Israelite theology absolute benefit of the doubt that it is sound on this matter, this is actually how God directs his people, the Israelites, to deal with their brother Esau and his children. In Deuteronomy 23:7, the Torah actually commands Israel not to hate the Edomites because they are their brothers. And further, in Amos chapter 9, verses 11 and 12, when Hashem resurrects the tabernacle of David in the Olam Haba, the remnant of Edom and all of the Goyim, the people of the nations, who are called by Hashem's name, will be contained within Hashem's people of Israel, when the earth is healed and all of Israel is gathered back in this order. So again, giving every respect to Hebrew Israelite teaching regarding Esau and Edom, hatred shouldn't be the default between Israel and Edom. Hashem only ever commands the Hebrews to be in perpetual watch for the Amalekites, who are for sure descendants of Esau, but they don't constitute all or even most of Esau's descendants. As a proof that being part of Israel, also known as the people of God, also known as Hebrews, is open to all nationalities and ethnicities, when the Hebrews left Egypt, they were a mixed multitude, and that same mixed multitude was present at the giving of the Torah at Sinai. And of course, the term Hebrew in the original Hebrew language, being Ivri, means to cross over, because Abraham, the first Hebrew, having crossed over the Jordan and entered into covenant by coming into the promised land with Hashem. And in just the same way, the Messiah says that all who believe in him have crossed over from death into life in John chapter 5, verse 24. Therefore, proving that all may come to faith in God, in the God of Israel and his Messiah, and be part of the commonwealth of Israel, as taught by Rav Shul, also known as Paul, in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 12. Now for a very serious word. And prior to my closing out this video, I don't pretend to know or comprehend the suffering of any people of color in America, from the times of the Native American expulsion to slavery, up through Jim Crow, or even in today's institutional racism that we see happening in the world around us now. So I'm not suggesting that those injustices can be ignored, nor do I intend to diminish its profound impact on those whom it has touched. My goal is to see all of Hashem's children join together to see a better tomorrow, arm in arm, embracing each other in the love of Hashem, and judging one another only on the content of our character individually and not on any external factor. So in closing, I'm in agreement with Hebrew Israelite theology that Adam, Eve, the patriarchs, and very potentially everyone through the Messiah and his Talmudim were very dark-skinned, or as we call it today, black. And I'm personally undaunted by this idea. I just appeal to the leaders and influencers of the Hebrew Israelite movement to reassess the theological points that would espouse belief and condemnation for all white people, only because it seems like it sets a standard that is beneath the students of Torah and believers in his Mashiach because of its racially charged nature. And know that there are white Jewish folks like myself that would like nothing more than to stand with our sisters and brothers of color in the effort to bring about a more fair and equitable world on the path to the Geulah, the ultimate redemption of earth. And ultimately, if all white people are to still be viewed as the children of Edom by Hebrew Israelite movement, then please do remember that the scriptures above that I spoke of attest that there is room for us in the kingdom of the God of Israel alongside any and all physical descendants in the seed of Abraham. Thanks so much for watching. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the thumbs up and subscribe for future content. If you'd like to talk to us more, you can reach our community over at facebook.com/groups/YokeOfMessiah. And if you need to reach me directly, you can. I can be found at YokeOfMessiah@gmail.com. Shalom Aleichem, and Am Israel Chai.